Good morning, Night City. Okay, so it's time for the worst books of the year. And I honestly had a fairly great reading year in 2025. I had way more great books than I did bad books, but there's still some whiffs for me. And today I'm going to be giving you the list of everything I gave less than a 3-star, so 2.75 and down. 2.75s are like, some of them were just like not great, whereas some were like, not for me. So we're gonna go through it, we're gonna discuss it, and I hope you enjoyed. Let's get started. The first of my worst is Neon Gods by Katie Robert. This is a Hades Persephone modern retelling, and I hated how Hades was written. I was listening to the audiobook, and anytime he would be speaking, I just gave me the ick. Like, I don't use that phrase lightly. Like, it legitimately grossed me out anytime he would try to be like sexy. I could not do it. I ended up DNFing the second one because I'm like, well, maybe it's just the way that Hades is written, and so many people love these books, so maybe I'll try a second one. No, that's just how Katie Roberts writes male characters. So 0.75, not good for me. Okay, Let the Right One In by John Avid Lindquist. So this is a vampire novel where like a town gets besieged by vampires. I feel like this one was so long to not really have anything happen. I didn't like any of the characters. I wasn't having fun with like the vampire stuff. It just wasn't interesting to me, even though like there's movies and stuff made out of it, so I thought it'd be better, but yikes, not for me. Not really much to say about that one because it literally was so boring. Next we have All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. This is also one where I'm like, I don't think much happened here. I think the premise of this one is that there's like a family who can grant people's wishes, but they can't grant their own wishes, so people travel to like see them to get their wishes granted. Sometimes the wishes are granted not in the way that they expect them to be granted, and I literally just listened to this one because of the narrator. He had a very nice voice. I didn't think any of the characters were interesting enough to carry the plot. That was honestly a premise without an execution. So 2.75 for that one. Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. Okay, so this is about a woman who is getting married, and on the night of her like bachelorette party, she cheats on her husband with this man, and then they're on their honeymoon and the man shows up again, and she's trying to like cover for that, but then also there's maybe something more sinister going on. Oh my god, I hate a cheating storyline. I didn't really know that I hated a cheating storyline, but this year I've kind of I don't like when characters cheat. I don't find it to be compelling. I don't tend to like characters who would do something like that. I'll defend a murderer as long as their murder is interesting, but I don't find cheating compelling. I don't find people usually have good reasons for it, and I don't find it interesting to read about. So Every Vow You Break, not for me. Along the same veins, Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I know that my friend Kate Colson really loves this series. I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot, even though I don't think I'm gonna like it. And I was correct. I did not like this. It's like a toxic relationship between these two friends who like hook up every once in a while and be like, well, no, we can't be together because we'd be terrible for each other, and we get fights all the time, and they try and date other people, but they don't have that same spark of passion like they have with each other. I think was compared to like Chuck and Blair from Gossip Girl. I think that's what the comparison was. I just wasn't enjoying it. It's rich people being rich people and thinking that their relationship drama is the biggest drama in the world. Didn't like it. Wasn't for me. Okay, I'm gonna smush two together here because 2.75 is what I gave to both Breaking Dawn and Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. This year, I was doing a reread of the books and watching the movies with a group of my friends. Breaking Dawn, we're getting into the plot lines. All of the plot lines I don't like. Okay, cheating? Not in this one. But I also don't like pregnancy, especially like, oh, I don't know why I feel so sick. That's so weird. I wonder if it's all the unprotected sex I have. No, that couldn't be it. oh no, I am pregnant. And then the whole thing's about the pregnancy, and pregnancy freaks me out, like, a lot. So, no, especially with a demon baby, Renesmee, with a creepy puppet face. Nope. Right, son, why is this book so long? Twilight's Twilight's not a skinny book, but wow, Midnight Sun is so much longer, and I just really, I don't like being in Edward's head, I'll be honest. 16, not even 16-year-old me, I stopped liking Twilight before I was 16. 14-year-old me would have been like, oh my god, Edward. But I'm 31 now. I would have been 30 when I read it. Do not like being in this man's head. And teenager, who knows? His maturity vacillates. And I don't think being in his head really helped improve any of the opinions I have of that whole situation with Bella. So 2.75 for those two. Okay, The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. I give it 2.75. I genuinely don't remember anything that happened in this book. Gothic horror where a man hires a new governess, and the governess has to deal with the creepy kids who think that there's a ghost haunting the halls. And genuinely, when I don't know. I could not tell you what happened from there, because I was bored. I'm trying to enjoy classic Gothic literature, and for some reason it just doesn't click with me. But then the Gothic horror of, like, Joanna Van Veen really hits with me. Is it the lesbians? Is that the only reason I like Gothic horror? For lesbians? Who knows? But The Turn of the Screw was not for me. Goodbye. No. Next is The String Diaries by Stephen Lloyd Jones. This one, I do have a reading vlog on if you want, like, my full expansive thoughts on, which was also, like, right after I read it, and so probably more accurate to what I'm going to remember however many months later. But this one is about a family who's being hunted and has been hunted for generations, and they're, like, trying to flee to make sure they don't get caught, and all they have to, like, guide them on this is a journal from, like, the previous generations that's passed down. I remember next to nothing about the actual plot of this or any of the characters, but I do remember having to listen to the audiobook narrator swallow, because they didn't edit any of that out of the audiobook. And when the narrative is so uncompelling that I'm focusing on the sounds that the narrator is making, Okay, the last of the 2.75s is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. So this is a romance novel that's like a standalone, but a second in the series. So there are references to the first one that probably went over my head because I only read this one for a book club. This one is about a woman who goes to, like, her family cottage for the summer, and I think it's like a photographer, and she's only ever had one of her photographs sell really well. And she's just kind of trying to reconnect with her artistic spark. The photo that she had that, like, sold really well, that she's famous for, is this, like, photo of, like, teenagers on a boat from, like, other people who lived in this cottage community. And we also get the guy who is in that photo, who she, like, loved at the time but was too young for. He's also there in the community. And they start dating, like, really quickly in this book, but then also he's like, we can't be together long term. I can't tell you why. We can't be together long term. And I was like, oh, because this? And then I was correct. I was correct as to why they couldn't get together. And it was so obvious, and a stupid reason, honestly. Why don't we just talk to people? Why don't we just communicate? If we have boundaries, if we have concerns, if we need to set a, like, deadline of, like, I can't be with you after this date because of this, let's fucking communicate that. I didn't like the characters. I didn't find the plot very interesting because it was so predictable. I didn't find the romance very hot. And, like, also, the best thing about this book was the fact that it was set in, like, small town Canada, which was kind of fun. That was unfortunate. On Carly Fortunate. Okay, so those are the 2.75s. Now we have the 2.5s. Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer, even worse than Breaking Dawn, and whatever the other one I said was, Midnight Sun. I thought Eclipse was my favorite, but I feel like the compelling thing was, like, the war, or maybe that was also for Breaking Dawn. Like, the compelling thing to me, in my 30s at least now, is the conflict between the Volturi and the Cullens and all this stuff, and I feel like that was breezed through, which is like, oh, fixed now. After so much buildup, nothing happens. So, you know, 2.5 for that one. I honestly think, weirdly, New Moon was my favorite. New Moon used to be my least favorite because I didn't like Jacob, but here we are today in our mature brains and reading children's novels for some reason. I feel like this list is so unserious because, like, those clearly, I'm not the audience for that. I'm a 31-year-old woman, not a 16-year-old girl anymore. I did enjoy them when I was 14, and then I matured, so they're on my worst of this year. Okay, also 2.5 was So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. This is her vampire one. So there's a woman who goes to a party, I think, or a bar, and she gets turned into a vampire, and then I could not tell you literally anything else that happens in this book because nothing happens in the rest of this book. Just complains a bit about being a vampire and then has to figure out something. Who turned her, maybe? I could not tell you because nothing happened in this book that I remember because it was that friggin' boring. I've tried so many times to like Rachel Harrison's work because I like the covers and I like the concepts, and then they never friggin' work out for me in terms of actual content, and I still keep bashing my head against the wall trying to like them, and I think I cannot. No one let me read another Rachel Harrison. If you see a TBR video where I'm like, I'm gonna read this Rachel Harrison this month, put in the comments, stop that, spray me with the spray bottle. I need to stop reading Rachel Harrison. Okay, 2.25s, we have Their Monstrous Hearts by Yeet Turhan. This is a book that I thought the cover was beautiful for. I was so interested in the concept, so much so that I had requested an ARC. And I think I included it on my upcoming releases I was excited for. And then, I read it. And it was so terribly written. Okay, so this is about a man who's like basically can't afford his rent, and then he gets notice that his like great aunt or something died and he inherited her manor, and her manor is just like full of butterflies or something, and then the house servants are being suspicious about something. And I feel like I read another book with a similar concept this year that was executed so much better. It could be Hazelthorn. Just read Hazelthorn. It's better. I guarantee it. Read Hazelthorn and not this book, and you'll have a better time with your life. Carrie Mora by Thomas Harris. So this one is a very short one, so I breezed through it during a readathon, and honestly, if it hadn't been so short, I would have DNFed it, because it was like a cartel and like illegal immigration going on, and ICE was involved, and I was like, what even is this book? I don't know, but it made me feel uncomfortable. So Thomas Harris better step it up, or else I'm unhauling Red Dragon, because he's the one who wrote the Hannibal series. So like I thought I could trust his work, but now I'm questioning it. Okay. I also give a 2.25 to The Twyford Code by Janice Hallett. So I read the Mysterious Case of the Appleton Angels, and I loved that. So I wanted to try another Janice Hallett, and this one was bad. This one particularly, it's like, okay, someone had this like book that they remember reading in school as a child, but then for some reason, like the book has changed over time to no longer be the same. So people are like, you know, Bernstein Bears, Mandela effect about this book and trying to investigate and blah, 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 blah. And this relied so much on having a unreliable narrator who cannot pick up on clues. And I hated that. Like, don't keep the suspense going by not revealing information because the character's too dumb to figure it out. That bothered me. Or that they were like manipulating him the whole time. It's like, I going into a mystery novel prefer to be able to at least have a shot at trying to figure out what's going on. And I feel like all the information I need to figure it out should be there, unless it's like a really, really good twist. But this one, I felt like to keep the suspense, they intentionally gave you a main character that was awful. So I did not end up liking that one. The last 2.25, again, another ARC. I feel bad when I accept ARCs and then don't like them, but The Gallery Assistant by Kate Belly. Okay, so the premise of this one, when I accepted the ARC, I'm like, oh, okay, it's about a gallery assistant. This famous artist at this gallery is killed, and then she finds like messages in the paintings that she's like, oh my god, maybe this person was murdered and she's trying to solve it. But also 9/11 is happening, which I didn't know about. You get these random chapters that are like flashbacks to her being in one of the towers when it went down on 9/11. I'm like, what did this add to this? And then the 9/11 stuff was like a cop-out for as to why the characters were doing what they were doing in a way that was like, oh, they just entirely missed this because they have PTSD from being in a tower. I'm like, what is happening in this book? Why was this published in 2025? I know Never Forget or Remember Forever or whatever, but it just felt like a weird choice to publish in 2025, and I did not enjoy reading that. Maybe I'm Canadian and I'm missing all of the context of being an American at the time, but for me, I signed up for like a painter being killed and hidden messages and paintings, and instead I got PTSD trauma from 9/11. Would not have picked it up if I had known that. 2 last books that are my worst of the year. These ones are definitively the worst because one's a 1.75 and the other's a 1.5. Like, yikes. Okay, so the 1.75 is It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over by Anne DeMarkin. So this one is about a woman, and you're kind of in her head as she like stream of consciousness narrates what's going on. She's like, I think it's during a zombie apocalypse, because you'll get these things of like, oh yeah, and then my arm fell off and I picked it up and started walking away with it. Or, oh, you know, so-and-so lost their memory and was shambling around. Like, okay, cool. So we're like zombie apocalypse, but also it's so much philosophizing about the trees, and like clearly something happened before this event happened. And it's clearly a metaphor for like, I think, loss of a child. That's what I was picking up from it. But like, first of all, that's what this book was about. I wouldn't have picked it up if I had known that, because I don't connect to those kinds of stories. I don't enjoy those kinds of stories, so I would not have picked it up knowing that. I picked it up because there was a sick-ass crow on the cover, and every once in a while you get these like really interesting like zombie apocalypse like references of like, oh yeah, and then, you know, things exploded and we forgot who we are or whatever. And then you just go back to pontificating about the poplar trees and the linden trees, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't care. I don't care. Give me the zombie apocalypse. Maybe I'm too unsubtle of a reader, but I did not enjoy this one. So it got a 1.75, but it's not my worst of the year. It came very close. It was so close to my worst of the year. This might be controversial, yet brave, but my worst book of the year was on so many people's best books of the year last year that maybe I read a different book than everyone else, okay? Quicksilver by Callie Hart, what the fuck was that, okay? So I read this back in January. That's how long I've been like marinating in this being my worst book of the year, okay? So this is about our main character who lives in this world where there's like water rationings, and you get like 6 ounces of water a day, which is, you know, not enough to even fucking live on, but let alone bathe. Everyone smells disgusting in this world, okay? And she has to break into the castle or something for some reason. Her brother gets her brother commits a crime, and in like trying to protect him, she like breaks in the castle and she grabs a sword or like ends up through a mirror or whatever, and she ends up in the world of the Fae, okay? And of course, this is a romantasy, so there's a hot Fae guy that she ends up falling in love with, and like, oh, I hate him, he's keeping me hostage, but like also those biceps though. And they fall in love so fucking quickly, they start fucking so quickly, but like, it was so cringe. There's something going on of like a battle between these two worlds, sure, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's here for the fucking, okay? The thing that broke me on this book that I literally could not get over for the entire rest of the book is like, okay, so I'm setting the scene here, okay? She's fallen through this Fae world. She has to stay on the Fae world, whatever. She's like, oh my god, my brother, I've only have him in the world. He only has me in the world. He's gonna get arrested. He's gonna get killed, whatever. Oh my god, my brother, can you go back and like bring him here just so I know he's safe? Since like, oh yeah, I guess I can do that, okay? And she's like, well, how are you gonna know it's me? She's like, oh, I can smell him, okay? And then he goes back through the portal. He comes back with a guy who is not her brother. He's like, oh no, but he smells like you. It's like, oh, you know why he smells like you? because she fucked him 6 months ago and he can smell her on his dick still. What the fuck? That is disgusting. Again, no one's fucking bathing here because they have water rations, and then they have super smell where they can smell who you fucked 6 months ago. I would explode at the sensory overload that would be living in that world. I would die. I would cut my own fucking nose off if I had to smell who everyone was fucking all the time. Okay? There's like a plot twist at the end, which I'll try and speak about vaguely, but like if you don't want, maybe skip ahead. So at the end, the guy that she like fucked and that like Kingfisher, his name's fucking Kingfisher. The guy that he brings through, Carrion, he had something unique about him that's a plot twist at the end. And I'm like, how could you possibly have smelled that she was fucking him, but you couldn't have smelled this thing that was plot twisty? Like, that's not something that you could sense? But you could sense who he fucked her? I was so grossed out by this book the whole time. It was so cringy. I didn't find the world bend thing really good. I could not with this book, and no judgment, I guess, to people who put on their best books of the year, but I will not be one of those people. It is the worst book I read this year. That is the worst books that I read this year, as a list, all of them. I genuinely, again, had a really great year. I had like 16 5-star books, and then only like, 2 I gave less than a 2-star? Like only 2 that were in the ones. So, you know what? At the end of the day, it definitely washed in favor of having a great reading year. But I hope you enjoy my little rant about the books that I didn't like. Let me know in the comments down below what the worst book you read this year was, or leave a crow emoji for, and it lasts forever and then it's over or whatever. I can never remember that name of the book. I just call it the Crow book, okay? Worst book of the year, or the crow emoji. If you enjoyed, like and consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. There are links in the description to my Goodreads and my Instagram if you want some previews on what I read throughout the month. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.